He embodied and reflected our collective goodness. He embodied our hopes and dreams, symbolized our enormous potential that has not always been fulfilled. He was not a lone wolf, and he did not fall from the sky. He learned about leadership and culture growing up in the care of Abatembu, Regent Jongintaba, after the death of his father. He learned from the experience of developing a voice for young people in anti-apartheid politics and from physically prosecuting the struggle. He learned from the comrades who surrounded him, an extraordinary generation of leaders. To all of this, the crucible of prison seemed to add a deep understanding of the human condition and a profound ability to empathize with others. He came to understand the Afrikaner from his interaction with his prison warders. Like a most precious diamond honed deep beneath the surface of the earth, the Madiba who emerged from prison in January 1990 was virtually flawless. When you think that he went to prison, an angry, relatively young man, and emerged as this incredible icon of magnanimity and compassion. Like a most precious diamond, he was virtually flawless. Did he have weaknesses? Of course he did. Among them, his steadfast loyalty to his organization and to some of his colleagues who ultimately let him down. He retained in his cabinet underperforming, frankly incompetent ministers. This tolerance of mediocrity arguably laid the seeds for greater levels of mediocrity and corruptibility that were to come. Was he a saint? Not if a saint is entirely flawless, but I believe he was saintly because he inspired others powerfully and revealed in his character transparently many of God's attributes of goodness, compassion, concern for others, desire for peace, forgiveness, reconciliation. He was consistent. I came to see him in Houghton and to have lunch with him. And at the end of lunch, he walked with me to the door. And then he called out, "Driver! Driver!" And I realized that he thought he was calling my driver. And I told him, no, I drove myself from Soweto. He didn't say anything. But a few days later, he said to me, "Mpela, I have found somebody who is prepared to give you 5,000 rand a month so that you can get a driver." So when we saw him after his retirement, going to rural areas and encouraging captains of industry to contribute to the building of schools and classrooms. It wasn't just a streak. It was something that was deep in him. He yeah. He cared. He really cared. What's going to happen to us now that our father has died? Does it spell doomsday and disaster for us? Some have suggested that after he's gone, as he is gone, our country is going to go up in flames. This is, I think, to discredit us, South Africans, to discredit his legacy. The sun will rise tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. It may not appear as bright as yesterday, but life will carry on. As we enter the mourning period as a nation, we do so with the greatest dignity and respect, because that is what we owe to Madiba and to ourselves. My message to my fellow South Africans: over the past 24 years, Madiba taught us how to come together and to believe in ourselves and each other. A unifier from the moment he walked out of prison. He taught us extraordinarily practical lessons about forgiveness and compassion and reconciliation. Who will ever forget how Ellis Park erupted on the day of the final, as Madiba walked out wearing a Springbok jersey with number 6 on the back, the captain's number. That action was worth more than all the sermons we could preach about reconciliation. Who can forget him, the president of the country, going to Oranje to have tea with Mrs. Betty Verwoerd? Tea and ja, Cook sisters. Who will forget that one of the VIP guests at his inauguration was his jailer? Who can forget that he had lunch in the presidency with the man who had prosecuted him in the Ribonia trial and had asked for the death penalty to be imposed? I made a mistake this morning. I said Zelda van Gran, sorry, Zelda Legran. Who can ever forget this image of a Mandela walking gently, difficultly, and an Afrikaner girl, lady, woman, tenderly, caringly at his side. We could see in front of our eyes. We could see the image of the reconciliation he wanted for his country. You know what? When we, in the TRC, demanded to have P.W. Porter appear, and he believed that we were seeking to embarrass him, discredit him. He wouldn't. I don't know that many of the people know that Madiba came to me and said, go and tell him I am prepared to attend the sessions when he will appear before the TRC, and I will sit side by side with him. That is the gift God gave us. He has taught us how to come together and to believe in ourselves and each other. The unifier from the moment he stepped out of prison. And do we believe in ourselves? Can we remember 2010 for 2 months, what our land was like? 2 months when there was no crime, no crime. And people were walking at night, white people, at night in Soweto. Our potential is immense. We are fantastic people. Madiba has reminded us that. This terrorist who today is regarded the world over, without exception, as an incredible icon, a symbol of reconciliation, of forgiveness, of magnanimity. We have an incredible capacity. And you know, God is asking us, South Africans, please become what you are. Show the world that yes, indeed, we are members one of another, that we are members of one family. Not as a figure of speech, but it is for real. You and you and you and you. You are my sister, you are my daughter, you are my child. We belong together. Let us reach out to one another and let Madiba's dream be our dream. Let us, let us vindicate God. Let us vindicate God who says, you are members one of another. God gave us this incredible symbol, warm. Let me just tell you one little story, and I'm going to keep quiet. The TRC experienced a very serious crisis because one of our commissioners was alleged to have been involved in a crime that someone was confessing to, that when he or they went to commit a particular political crime, the vehicle they used belonged to this commissioner. I picked up the phone and immediately I said, Madiba, appoint, as a matter of extreme urgency, a judicial commission that must look into this quickly, because the credibility of the commission is at stake. And as almost always happened, he appointed Judge Richard Goldstone. And then I received a call from the President's office. They want to know how they can get in touch with this particular commissioner who was supposedly involved. And I realized that the report had come and Madiba wanted to set this person at rest by letting him know the findings of the judge. And I said to the person who was speaking to me, tell the President, I am the chair of this commission. Anything relating to this commission, I must know about it first. A few seconds later, the phone rings. It is Madiba on the other side. The President of the country says, Mpilo, you are quite right. I am sorry. How many of us, how many leaders would be willing to apologize? So God, you have given us an incredible gift. Help us to emulate him. Help us, this fantastic country, to be the best memorial we can ever erect. A South Africa where all of us flourish. Thank you. Thank you.
You deserve to know more.
eNCA.com.